Eve Corvin is the firstborn hybrid and the daughter of Selene and Michael Corvin. She is also a descendant of the Corvinus clan. She is a hybrid of 3 immortal strains: vampire, Lycan, and a unique Corvinus strain. This potentially makes her the most powerful product of the Corvinus strain to date and the most formidable immortal. She is sought after for her blood due to its potential to grant another person unimaginable power, making her a target of utmost interest for many. Eve was born and raised in captivity. Her parents were captured by the infected persons unit before they could discover Selene's pregnancy. Antigen, the biotech corporation that took custody of Selene and Michael, raised Eve and named her Subject 2. She remained in captivity for her first 11 to 12 years. Her caregivers told her that her parents had died at her birth, which prevented her from learning about her origins or nature. However, due to her psychic connection with Selene, she was sure that her captors were lying about her being an orphan. Only one doctor, her personal caregiver, treated her as more than a lab specimen, while others considered her merely an experiment. When informed that she would soon be executed, Eve escapes her captivity and frees her mother, whose existence she had only recently learned of before escaping the antigen facilities. Although Selene was originally unaware of Eve's existence, their psychic connection allows Selene to see through Eve's eyes, prompting her to find the young girl. Selene is astounded by Eve's hybrid appearance and the sheer brute force she exhibits. After Eve is examined by a vampire doctor named Olivia and fed blood to heal from her wounds due to a Lycan attack, she expresses fear and frustration due to her mother's aloofness. However, Selene assures her that it's her anguish over the sudden loss of Eve's father that causes her silence, not a lack of care for Eve. When Eve is recaptured by antigen forces, Selene launches an attack against the company, during which Eve manages to free herself. She confronts Jacob Lane, a hybrid doctor who had attempted to use Eve's DNA to create a stronger and silver-resistant breed of Lycans. The two fight fiercely, culminating in Eve successfully defeating Lane by literally tearing out his throat. Mother and daughter reunite, but although Eve has a vision of Michael escaping the facility, her father disappears before she and Selene can reach him on the roof. Before the beginning of the Blood Wars, Eve went into hiding after making Selene promise not to look for her and left her a lock of her hair as a memento. The Lycan leader Marius sought Selene in order to find Eve's whereabouts to take her blood and enhance his own powers, but he realizes that even Selene does not know her own daughter's location, concluding that he cannot find her. After Marius's death, Selene becomes one of the 3 new vampire elders and remains at the Nordic Coven, where eventually Eve arrives seeking her mother, possibly after being summoned by Selene. Appearance: Eve has long, brown hair that falls past her neck and down her back, and her eyes are blue. In her hybrid form, her skin turns blue like her father's, her eyes become black while her iris retains the bright blue hue of Selene's. Also, like Michael, she cannot speak when transformed, resorting to growls, hisses, and Lycan-like roars instead. Eve mostly resembles her mother in facial features, except for her eyes, which Selene remarks are like her father's. Personality: Eve is highly intelligent, observant, and mature for her age, yet she is somewhat withdrawn and easily frightened due to her young age and lack of social interaction. Having been raised in captivity, treated as a test subject, and denied a proper childhood, her only regular human contact was with the scientists experimenting on her. Eve longs for freedom and to be with her family, suspecting from the beginning that her captors were lying about her being an orphan, a belief reinforced by her psychic connection with her mother. Eve is shown to be a fierce fighter, not hesitating to use violence to defend herself or her loved ones. This might be due to natural predatory instincts and possibly because she understands that if she does not fight to protect herself, she will perish. Despite this, Eve does not appear malevolent. She clearly cares for her mother and others who protect her, killing only those who harm or threaten her, and is ultimately a lonely and frightened child caught in circumstances beyond her control. Powers and abilities. The full extent of Eve's abilities is undetermined due to both her pre-adolescence and her relatively short time in the Underworld lore. Genetically, she is the most potent of immortals, possessing powerful attributes from each species, as well as ferocity and bloodlust. Similar to her father, a Lycan vampire hybrid, Eve demonstrates a bestial blood rage when revealing her true nature, which seems to trigger her power as she possesses no hand-to-hand combat training or combat experience, relying on pure brute strength for defense. Even at such a young age, Eve has shown remarkable resilience even for an immortal. She has been seen casually cutting herself with no visible discomfort and quickly recovering from severe blunt trauma, such as being overturned in a car and struck by a mutated Lycan hybrid. Even before consuming a drop of blood in her life, she only showed moderate discomfort from a rather severe Lycan bite, even tearing the very Lycan that bit her in half. Eve possesses an extremely powerful healing factor, even by immortal standards. However, being deprived of blood for 12 years weakened this trait to an apparently human level. Yet, after consuming blood for the first time, her bite wound healed at a remarkable rate, healing completely within seconds. After cutting her arm several times, the cuts healed almost instantly. She was also able to withstand an anesthetic gas for quite a long time before finally succumbing to it. Just like Lycans, Eve's strength seems to be triggered by intense emotions such as rage or fear. As a tri-blood hybrid, her raw brutality is more than enough to compensate for her youth and lack of fighting experience, even when facing lesser transformed Lycans or a mutated Lycan hybrid. Eve's most notable feats of strength include splitting the head of an inferior Lycan in half, even when weak and injured, fending off a furious Lycan with a wooden door, and ultimately ripping out the throat of a mutated Lycan hybrid. Selene believes Eve to be more powerful than any living vampire or Lycan. As a Lycan hybrid, Eve possesses sharp nails in her hybrid form capable of causing severe damage. Presumably, like her father, she might be able to extend them without fully accessing her hybrid form, although this has not been demonstrated yet. Eve is shown to sense the approach of a Lycan attack. She felt them much before Selene did, which theoretically means her senses might be superior to those of her mother, or her Lycan heritage allows her to detect other Lycans. Eve moves so quickly that she disappears from sight in seconds, eluding police officers, Lycan guards, Jacob Lane, and even her own mother. She is capable of lunging onto the back of a Lycan with extreme force and performs athletic-level feats when fighting. She can also jump very high without difficulty, as demonstrated when she leaped up the wall of a room about 20 feet high, nearly reaching the ceiling with ease. Eve has demonstrated the ability to cling to walls, apparently even without skin contact, as seen when she jumped up the walls of the room she was imprisoned in at Antigen while attempting to resist the effects of an anesthetic gas. As a hybrid of the three immortal species, Eve is completely immune to both ultraviolet light and silver in any form. She is capable of perceiving images and hearing sounds from the perspective of either of her parents. It's explained that when she is near her mother or father, their brainwaves synchronize with hers, and she sees what they see, and they see what she sees, similar to a wireless network connection. For years, however, this only occurred between Eve and her mother, as they were kept close. Her father was too far away for this to happen. This ability for sensory synchronization is apparently a random phenomenon rather than a controlled event. As a hybrid of Lycan vampire and the pure Corvinus strain, and thus one of the most potent tri-blood hybrids, Eve is immune to aging and diseases, and her life will last for hundreds of thousands of years. Hey, don't go just yet. If you enjoyed my video, I'd love to recommend another one for you to watch.